Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Metro Home Theater Tech Tips. I am Adam Rogers, and with me today I have Kyle Cashwell. Kyle, how are you, my friend?
I am excellent, Adam. Thank you for holding your hands up to my imaginary body. I feel much more included.
So, as if for our viewers and that have watched with us from the beginning, of course, you know that Brent is out today. He's actually on vacation. Lucky him. He's out in California today, holding down the fort out on the West Coast. And so today we've actually got our special guest with us, Kyle Cashwell. And this is actually kind of a fun episode for me. This is something I've been trying to pull together now for quite a while. Now we finally have like a perfect storm happening to where I can have Kyle, who is an actual gaming buddy of mine that I play online with, and Brent's not here, so we can actually do an episode on gaming and how important it is for in the HDMI 2.1 world moving forward. So we're going to be talking about the gaming environment as it is today, what we're going to be seeing here very, very shortly when it comes to like PC gaming with the new graphics cards. We're going to be talking about the new gaming consoles that are out there and what they're doing as far as HDMI 2.1 and some problems that we're seeing already out in the field and how you can, of course, mitigate those problems as well. So, Kyle, without further ado, what kind of information can you tell us about your history? What do you do for the company? What's your position? Kind of lay it out for us.
So what I do for the company is I'm the West Coast Territory Manager. So I handle everything from basically the line that goes down, Montana, Utah, Wyoming, that whole line to the left, that whole Pacific side over there. My job description, honestly, I just make it look like I work really hard, but I really don't do a whole lot. I have a lot of fun, enjoy talking to my dealers. And as far as being included on this episode, it's really exciting for me because I personally have been into the computer world specifically for 15 years or so, built, countless computers for myself, friends, acquaintances, really into the whole tech era of graphics cards and computer knowledge in general. It's definitely my home hobby aside from loving AV like I do at work.
Nice. So everyone who's watching the video, of course, as always, a like, a share, a subscribe is always helpful. We've, of course, passed our 1,000 subscribers mark. We're almost up to 1,100 subscribers. So definitely really appreciate that, as always. But if you have any questions or comments about what we're talking about today, feel free to leave it down in the chat section to the side or leave it down in the comment section below. We do monitor those comments, so if you have any comments after the fact, or if you're watching this after we've gone live, feel free to put that down there and we will respond to it. And so we can talk more about that. So, Kyle, what do we see as the thing going forward for HDMI 2.1 with gaming consoles? Of course, we've got the Xbox Series X coming out and the Series S, I believe. And then, of course, we've got the NVIDIA graphics cards, the GTX 3000 series. Pardon me, and then of course the new Radeon cards that were just announced last week. What do you see happening?
I think the coolest thing is consoles being able to take advantage of the higher frame rates now. The second we're able to introduce a 2.1 cable into the mix between a true 2.1 output and a true 2.1 input, it's going to give console players, in the gaming world, this is unprecedented, giving console players the opportunity to actually play something above 30 or 60 frames. And what a lot of people don't realize is even on the newer Xbox One and the PS4 Pro, a lot of these games, these consoles have touted, we do 60 frames. But, Grand Theft Auto, for instance, Grand Theft Auto to this day on, those series consoles is still a 30 frame game. So it's going to be a really, really big upgrade for them. And it's going to be a huge change in the scene in general. I'm actually really excited to see what happens. I've seen several questions asked to these really large, gaming figures online and everything about, now that these new Xboxes are coming out and everything like that, do you make the switch from computer back to console. And obviously, anybody who's been in the computer world for a long time is, we're stuck here, right? There's no getting out of it.
There's
They've got
not.
a stranglehold on you. Yeah, no
You've
shot.
gotten me into the PC world. Actually, you were the one
Yeah.
who helped me build my first PC, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah,
Yep.
there is no going back for PC gamers.
There
Let's be
isn't.
honest.
But it does really close the gap.
It
I
does.
mean, you think about it. I mean, in the gaming world entirely, the fact that HDMI is going to be able to provide 120 frames, I mean, that's really is game changing. I mean, that's going to be huge.
It is, and in fact, even myself right now, I'm still not gaming at 120 frames because I'm still stuck on a 60 frames per second TV for my PC. And so for gamers that are finally moving into for console gamers that are now finally moving into the possibility of that, at minimum they'll at least see 60 frames per second in a lot of the games that they're going to be playing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think every game should be baseline 60 frames from what I understand, which is even that is awesome.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're finally going to be able to see the ability to have enough bandwidth to make it happen. And I know that the gaming consoles themselves are becoming more powerful to even get to that point. So, which is why we're able to get to that point to get 60 frames per second or higher. Now, when the Xbox One came out and the PS4 came out or PlayStation 4 came out, they were all saying that, oh yeah, you're going to get 60 frames per second gameplay. But in a lot of cases, we still haven't seen that, like you were saying before. Or 4K gaming, they were saying that when they first came out, they were going to have 4K gaming, and we didn't see that until later on when the Xbox One X finally came out and the PS4 Pro came out. So now that we're moving into the new console generation, do you think we're going to see something similar happening where they're saying, oh yeah, we're going to do it, but then it not really happen until later on?
For the sake of, I would love to jump out and say yes, but history shows specifically Forza, that's going to be a key release with the new PlayStation. And I'm almost certain that Forza comes out right out the gate, pretty much full 4K. Now, mind you, we still technically don't have 2.1 cables, right? So even if Forza does take advantage of the optional higher bandwidth and the optional higher frame rate, right now, I mean, we can't even provide.
Well, yes, kind of, and no, actually, which is why I've got this. Now, this is actually interesting. You've been working out of the office. You've been working from home. And so have you had a chance to put your hands on this yet?
Hang on. Let me switch. Let me see what you got
zoom
there.
in a little bit. Can you see that there?
Yes.
Yes?
I got to put my hands on that about 4 months ago, if that tells you anything. That's
okay.
And they were far from full production.
So not to hold back anymore for our viewers and whatnot, this is of course our 48 gig capable Velox active fiber cable. And so the really cool thing, of course, is that with the new consoles coming out, and actually there needs to be a little bit of backstory to this, because when you look at HDMI, one of the biggest things that hold us back, of course, is the bandwidth availability the capabilities of those cables to pass the bandwidth required. And so when we look at, of course, 4K, HDR, 60 frames per second, 444, all that kind of good stuff. As we know, and if you've gone back and watched any of our videos, you'll know that if you try to get all of that at once, you're not going to get it, because that's 24 gigs per second. Now, if you cut it back a little bit, because right now HDMI 2.0 is an 18 gig standard, quote unquote standard. And so when you try to do that for the cabling, then you can do it pretty easily, actually. And at first we thought, oh, we're never going to be able to do that back when it was first happening. But now we're to the point now where we're realizing that, okay, we can do it. It's fairly easy. We have the product to make it happen. And one of the biggest things, of course, is like the AIO2 or the GA2 for us whenever we need to repair something. But now what we're finding is, as we're moving into the 2.1 spectrum, which the new gaming consoles, the new PC cards, graphics cards and whatnot, you really are going to require just a higher bandwidth. And so that's where these cables come into play. So shorter distances, anything from half a meter to 2 meters, which for us here in the States is about 6 feet, you're really going to need Not much. Our VLOX series passive cables, the MHX cables, technically the MHY cables, but it's not really the one that I would go with. And when we're talking about bandwidth, the VLOX series for sure is going to ensure that you get 48 gigs from the source device to the next thing in line, which in this case, most of the time is going to be a TV. Now, 6 feet is close enough. You're probably going to get in there without any issues. But if you have a TV that's slightly further away, let's say you've got all your game consoles and stuff inside of a rack, then you're going to need something that's going to be able to get it there over that distance. So, and Kyle, like you were saying, technically you're right. We don't have HDMI 2.1 cables. The CTS for that has kind of been released. It's basically them just releasing it saying, oh yeah, it will be 48 gigs. And by the way, you're going to have to get them certified from these specific people to certify them as 2.1. And yeah, you're right. They're technically not here yet, but capability-wise, we know that we're there. We know that we're going to be able to do it. And in fact, that's why we use DPL Labs to ensure that we can actually get that bandwidth. So yes, you're right. You're not wrong. That's one of those things where it's like, hey, how are we going to get the video there to begin with if they don't even have any cables out there? So that's definitely very important. Now with gaming consoles, that's kind of like the easy way for people to get in, right? That's everything's already done for you. You plug it in, hook it up to the TV, and you're good to go. Now, PC gaming, unless you buy like a pre-built system, what are we looking at for something like that? Are we looking at some pretty serious requirements? Or are we looking at something that can actually handle what we're trying to do on it? What do you see happening?
I mean, ultimately, I think computers are just going to be more expensive in the short and long run than consoles will ever be. I think they're going to close the gap big time with this. But, both are going to perform well. Both are going to, reach the same end result for the most part. Computers are going to be wildly more capable forever, just because of, the modular nature of them. However, consoles now, I mean, like I said, the gap is getting closed, and you're going to spend twice as much for a computer that you would a console that's going to do the same thing.
Right.
So it's, it's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
And but now, I mean, with the new graphics cards coming out, I'm actually curious to see how many people end up going with the 2.1 option over a DisplayPort option.
Right.
Because you do have a couple benefits from, going HDMI over DisplayPort with sound and stuff like that. So, I would be curious to see how much that changes.
Well, and that makes sense too. With HDMI 2.1, we of course still have Atmos, which DisplayPort, correct me if I'm wrong, but DisplayPort doesn't do Atmos. Is that correct?
No, they do not. Nope.
So with HDMI 2.1, you've got Atmos capabilities if you're going to do a surround sound system that has Atmos in it. Even if you're not, the sound bars that are out there that can do Atmos need the Atmos data. And so you can actually get some really cool 3D environments out of just, front, center, left, and right. And so that's definitely an important thing. There's also... not FRL. There's the frame rate optimization. Is that what it's called? Where it's the game will actually change its frame rate depending on how much bandwidth is required to, or not bandwidth, but how intricate the layout is. So if it needs to be prettier, it'll go for a lower frame rate. If it needs to be more fast paced, it'll actually bump it up to a higher frame rate and match it and make it work that way. So some really cool things are happening when it comes to something like that, especially with gaming. So
I'm curious to know, I mean, I can't tell you how many phone calls I've, helped the guys out with in the office with somebody calling up and wanting to do a high-end gaming setup in a theater and wanting to go from a computer. And there's just so much that you lose out on. It's like you said, if you can't do Atmos and, a fully Atmos prepared theater, you're losing such an aspect, right?
Right.
So, is this going to be now something that we're going to have worked into racks? Are we going to have a separate place for a tower and a equipment closet somewhere, all fed back to a theater? just so you can get your 120, or your full 60 for that matter, or there's a lot of things. I mean, this could change a lot.
It really
with
can.
with 2.1 being fully released.
Yeah, definitely. And so when we look at that's kind of what's coming, right? That, or technically that's what's here now that Nvidia has released their graphics cards. AMD is releasing theirs here very soon, and so good luck getting any of those cards right now. I guess the bots and everything are out there buying them and scalping them.
Yeah, apparently the 3080s and the 3090s turned around and sold for like 300% of buying cost on eBay the following day.
Yeah. So if I guess for the installers out there that are building systems for their clients, which it happens. I've actually taken a couple phone calls about that, and on the tech support side, that they build custom PCs for their clients to put into their, like you said, their home theaters or anything else. So if you are looking for those graphics cards, good luck. If you find them, buy a bunch of them to stock up on it so you can actually have some to use. Don't turn around and sell them on eBay for 300% of what they're retailing for. Don't be a jerk. But yeah, so it's definitely difficult to come by. Now, Kyle, there's actually kind of something interesting happening. The game consoles are not released yet, right? We're seeing them later this month or in December, if I remember correctly. For the
like 10 days, 6 days for Xbox and 8 days for PS5.
Okay, so like less than a week, right? Or right at a week. So, but they've already been out in the wild. We've already had people calling us up. Or actually, Brent and I talked about it on one of our episodes, saying that right now, the chipsets that are inside the game consoles are having problems with certain surround sound systems. And what's interesting is that we don't really have any 2.1 surround sound systems out there, and the game consoles definitely are not out there. So how are we getting problems out in the wild? And all it really comes down to is people are getting reviews of those devices, right? They're getting them out there to actually test them and see how they work for them. So basically what it comes down to, and no one has actually come out to say, Harold, good point. Harold says, good luck getting one if you didn't pre-order. Honestly. Right now it looks like the guys who actually do the pre-built systems are getting stocks of them. So you may have to go in a weird way and see if you can get one from like Newegg or something through their pre-built systems or something like that. But again, you're right. Good luck. So when you look at the problems that are coming up with, or actually it's better to look at the problems that we've seen already with HDMI 2.0. We've got EDID problems, we've got bandwidth problems, we've got extension problems. We have problems going from, for 18 gigs and under that, that we're seeing today. As we move into HDMI 2.1, we're going to be compounding those problems, right?
Yeah, I think the farther we push the envelope, the worse it's going to get. I mean, history says it, going back to HDMI 1.0, you didn't really have near as many issues. You had your staple issues, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, the amount, I mean, off the top of our heads, I'm sure between the two of us, we could name 30 things right now, just interoperabilities between two pieces of equipment, general HDMI issues, EDID issues, HDCP issues, and those are just categories.
Right.
And we're up to 4, right? So amongst those, we have, 5 to 10 issues per piece there.
Yeah.
If not more, especially when you talk about actual, equipment interoperability and not wanting to work together with one another. So, we can only imagine the farther we push the envelope, the more we stress these products. It's like anything else, it's like a drivetrain in a car. The more horsepower you get, eventually something breaks, you fix it, and then something else is going to break. It's going to keep finding that weakest link until, hopefully we can work most of the bugs out, or, do like we did with 2.1 and just come out with tools that fix it.
Yeah. With 2.0, definitely bring out the
or
tools
2.0.
Yep. You're good. So, like you were saying, we've got things like the AIO2. We have things like the GA2. These are all things that are designed specifically to allow us to fix problems. And so whenever we see those problems arising, whether they be because of bandwidth requirements, distance requirements, whatever that may be, that's where these devices are going to step in, and that's kind of our bread and butter, right? That's our claim to fame. We are the
Yep.
HDMI people, and we have the tools to fix HDMI when it's not working correctly. So definitely something to keep an eye on when we move into 2.1 for that. So now, what's your we're talking about gaming. What's the game specifically that you are waiting for
The new
to be
Halo,
able to
man.
play? Halo?
Easy peasy, Halo.
Yeah?
The only reason I would buy a console again is just for Halo.
All right.
Yeah.
Play some new Halo Infinite.
There's yeah, man. It's the nostalgia. I don't think there's ever been a Halo that's come out that I haven't bought. I've bought them, played them for 5 hours, been terribly disappointed, and I will buy the next one every time.
Every time. Every time.
Every time.
You're not alone. You're not alone in that. Man after my own heart. Halo is definitely going to be the one that I'm looking forward to. And now, the really wonderful thing about the fact that of where we work is we have access to certain high-end video equipment and AV equipment, and so yes, I will be playing Halo on an 8K display.
Testing.
Correct. I am testing Halo on an 8K display. So, Brent's in the chat. Brent is in the chat.
Oh, Brent's in the chat.
Brent is in the chat.
Zelda?
Brent says,
No.
"What? No Zelda? Listen, Wind Waker. No, pardon me, not Wind Waker. Hold on. Where are we at? Zelda." What's the
Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild, yeah, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild on the Switch looks fantastic. When you run it into some kind of 8K display that's got a little bit of upscaling to it, it's just going to make those lines even more crisp and clean, to a certain extent. But
Brent,
we'll
of all the video games, you pick Zelda. I think that's like the only 1080 game out there still.
I think so. Well, especially on the Switch. The Switch isn't capable of anything more than 1080p right now, anyways. I think it's only 1080p to begin with. The experts are chimed in. They're asking about asteroids. Are we going to play asteroids?
And Pong.
And Pong.
Asteroids and Pong.
We're going to play Pong.
Might as well since we're here. I have one of those. What do they call them? The Atari. They were the Atari Replay or something like that. It's got like 100 Atari games on it.
Yeah, like the master collection of all the Atari games and whatnot.
Yep.
Heck yes. And they're going to re-release that on the brand new consoles. They always release
inevitably.
Those. Yeah, and so we're going to be playing Burger Time. Nice. We're going to be playing all these games on these these old Atari games on that. Actually, really cool. Not to take us too far off subject, I just watched a really cool YouTube video where somebody took a PlayStation 1 and there's a mod for it where you can add a 1080p HDMI connection to it. And so it takes the digital video directly off the board and outputs it on HDMI, and it gives you a 1080p image. It looks fantastic. It looks amazing. And I'll be perfectly honest, I'm definitely going to do it. Brent's talking about playing Tempest on 8K. But no, really cool stuff. So yeah, gaming on 8K, gaming on 2.1 is definitely looking like it's going to be just amazing. If you look at even here on YouTube, the guys over at like Linus Tech Tips, there's a couple other gaming computer builders and stuff that are out there and whatnot. Definitely look up their videos that they have talking about 2.1. The main thing for us, of course, is we're looking to make sure that your gaming console, your gaming PC is going to work on your display. Across an HDMI connection, and who knows, maybe we'll look into DisplayPort eventually at some point if everyone starts using that. What do you all think? Do you think, leave it over in the chat section or comment down in the comments below, should we look into getting DisplayPort stuff? Should we look into making sure that DisplayPort works the way that it's supposed to, just like we do with HDMI? Let us know all of that. And Brent's right. Brent is saying expect AVR compatibility issues. And that's what we were talking about before, where already we're seeing compatibility issues with AVRs and gaming consoles. And actually, it turns out it's happening on PC graphics cards as well. So we need to watch for that. So normally most of those problems are going to be fixed with a firmware update. But the cool thing is a lot of times we find the problems first. We get in contact with the developers or the manufacturer to hopefully get a firmware update pushed out. That's what's nice about being who we are. Now, with all that said, Kyle, do you have any other things that you wanted to talk about with gaming and whatnot? What are you excited for? What do you see happening?
I just think I think we get away from a lot of the 1080 displays. I think 1080 is officially going to become obsolete here at some point.
Yep.
I think that's pretty huge. That's something I've been thinking about for quite a few months, ever since they started talking about the release of these. I mean, for those of you who don't know, they're coming with the new technology that they've just come out with in these 3000 series graphics cards. You're taking the basically the pinnacle of a graphics card, which was a 2080 Ti. It's got massive amounts of memory, massive amounts of computing speed, and then you come up with this new 3000 series, and the fourth or fifth lowest graphics card's better than the best one they had 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
You're talking going from 10 gig of RAM on the best graphics card they had to 24 on the best graphics card they have.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount my point in all this is I think everybody knows what's coming. I think we're ready to start, we're understanding that, 2.1 has technically been around for what, it's 2020 now, so 3.5 years, right?
Yep. Technically, yeah, pretty much.
Technically.
Yeah.
So we've all had the 48 gig in our head for 3.5 years.
Yep.
And now finally we're coming out with stuff. We've got TVs with 2.1 officially. We've got AVRs with 2.1 officially. We're, this close to finishing up, having a connectivity between the two. And now you've got computers coming out with, 2.1 outputs that are capable of running, extreme graphics through these, computing extreme graphics, 8K gameplay, which is, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's something we don't think about. My computer right now, I would consider is fairly powerful, and it would probably go up in a smoke cloud if I tried to put an 8K game on there right now.
Yeah.
So, I think everything's looking really good. I think the time of video is now. I think now is when, we're going through the same thing we went through from 1080 to 4K, in my opinion. I think right now we're about to finally make that switch from 4K and maybe weasel our way over into the 8K realm just a little bit, hopefully here soon. And I'm pretty excited about it. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, like you were saying before, the fact that 1080p is really starting to be phased out, you can go out there and buy a 4K display, which is real 4K. It may not be the best picture because of the different backlight and everything, but you can buy a real 4K display. Stuart actually found a deal for it at Walmart. You could buy like a 55 or a 65 inch for under $300 for a 4K display. And to be perfectly honest, it's a beautiful display. It looks great. If all you've ever had is 1080p, it's going to look amazing. And it's definitely something that you should look into for that. So with that said, now here's something else that's kind of interesting, not to kind of help wrap us up with all of this. Kyle, are you aware of the maximum bandwidth output of the new PlayStation and the new Xbox? Do you know what it is?
I don't off the top of my head,
Okay.
But if I was to give it a solid guess, I would say, is this right out the gate, or is this totally full bore what they're capable of putting out?
This is full bore. This is everything, wide open. The physical capacity, the absolute top capacity of the game consoles when they release, and for this coming generation. This is the maximum amount of bandwidth they will physically be able to output.
I'm gonna guess 30.
Close. You are correct that it's not 48. It's not the maximum. The truth is that the new consoles are actually being limited down to 40 gigs total.
Okay.
So
that's still outrageous.
It's still amazing, right?
That's outrageous. Yeah.
I mean, you still, in order to get that kind of bandwidth down a copper connection, you have to be either ridiculously short, have a massive amount of copper in there in order to keep up with it, or you have to do something like fiber. Now, so 40 gigs is still going to be amazing, but again, we're going to run into problems that we ran into before with HDMI 2.0, where people are going to say, well, I want 4K, I want 444, I want HDR, I want 60 frames per second, I want 12-bit, I want all of it. Well, if you want all of that, you need 24 gigs, and we only have 18. So
Yep.
when we run into the new consoles and the new graphics cards, now the graphics cards I don't think have that limitation. I think those are actually going to be putting out a full 48 gigs. But again, that's another reason why PC gaming is PC gaming. But when we look at the consoles and stuff, people are going to be looking at those and saying, well, I want 8K, I want 444, I want 12-bit, I want 120 frames per second. Yeah, good luck. You're not going to get it, unfortunately.
Yeah, no shot.
So
yeah, I think everybody, my guess is going to be everybody's going to be going for the frame rate, just like in computer now. I think everybody's going to be chasing the frame rate and saying resolution by the wayside. Give me all the frames, baby. That's what we're all here for, is we're here for all the frames.
So this is actually really great. We've got a question from Harold. Harold is saying, will we see shorter fiber-based cables to support 48 gigabits per second? Stay tuned. To be perfectly honest, it's something that we are working on. Brent is responding in the chat saying that yes, we will see that. But yeah, stay tuned with that. We are actively working on making sure that we have, because you're right, there is a gap in there from 2 meters to 10 meters where technically we don't have anything that's going to be doing 48 gigs without some kind of device like a GA2. And so you really have to bridge that gap somehow. So stay tuned. It's on its way. We're hopefully going to be having something here to announce roughly soon, fairly soon, kind of a thing. But of course, stay tuned. Watch the channel, like, share, subscribe, hit that little bell notification to let you know when we do go live with new information about that stuff. And as always, hit that bell notification to let you know when we go live, which of course is every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Kyle, do you have anything else you'd like to add for the day? We've made it here to about 30 minutes for a live broadcast. So it's if you've got anything else to add to it, let me know.
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. I mean, the new consoles are going to be nuts. The new graphics cards are going to be nuts. Gaming in general is, the stocks are going, the stonks are going up, man. Yeah, the stonks are going up, and
Yeah,
it's looking
definitely
good. So, and
Well,
I'm just excited for what we have for it.
I just remembered we took a call this morning about a guy that's doing the same thing. He's getting ready for the new consoles. The guy that was actually looking for the 10-meter Velox fiber cable.
Oh, okay.
Out in Washington, over in your neck of the woods. So he's so we're seeing that the new game consoles are on their way. We're going to see them here in about a week's time. We are keeping our ears to the ground for any problems that present themselves. A lot of times us back here in tech support are the first ones to hear about it whenever there is problems when it comes to consoles like that. So if you and actually it comes from you out in the field. So if you installers are out there, streaming will not be far behind. For you guys out in the field, if you are running into problems with the new game consoles, with the new PC graphics cards, or anything like that when it comes to the HDMI connection, or just in general, give us a call. Let us know what's going on, because we have a little bit of a larger pool of data of what's going on, so it's a little bit easier for us to diagnose it. So if you run into a problem, give us a call. As always, you can reach us here at the tech support at 386-492-8584. And of course, you can email me at adamr@metrohometheater.com. Now, Kyle, of course, you are West Coast sales representative for that area. And so if anybody over in the West Coast needs to reach you, how can they reach you, Kyle?
You can reach me by email at kylec@metrohometheater.com, or my direct line is 386-257. Dude, I can't remember my number.
Put you on the spot. Call into the sales team. If you guys have any questions, they'll be more than happy to take care of you there. As always, everybody, thank you for checking in with us. Kyle, thank you for being a wonderful guest for me today while Brent is out. It's been wonderful having you on. We'll have to do this more often. You were actually on almost a year ago now when we did our fiber video, right? And so
was it that long ago? Yeah.
It feels like it, anyways. It's been quite a while. But I appreciated you back then doing it then, and of course even now when we're having a social distance with all of that. So, Kyle, thank you very much for being on the episode with us today.
My pleasure. Always enjoy it. And my number is 257-2954. Appreciate it, guys.
386-257. 2954.
2954.
There you go.
You remember it better than I do, Adam.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
There you go. Harold, you put it in the chat. Thank you so much for that. All right, everybody. As always, thank you so much for checking in with us. If you have any questions or comments about what we talked about today, leave it down in the comment section below. Or if we're here at the last of it in the chat section over on the side. I think it's over on that side. So definitely leave it over there for us. We do comment, we do watch those, the chat and the comment section. So let us know what you are doing or what you're thinking. Let us know if you're designing a system. What are you doing in that system? What are you designing in that system? What do you need to accomplish? Give us a call. Let us know down in the comment section below. Next week, I have another special guest with us. Next week, I actually have a local dealer coming in. This is going to be Chris Lozano from Precise Audio here in Daytona Beach. And so he will actually be coming in and talking to us about TV mounts, things that he runs into as an installer. And then, of course, the week after that, we're doing another special guest episode with Jason Lundell. He is our Southeast sales manager. And so he and I will be actually talking about spy clops. We're going to be doing an episode about analog spy clop surveillance systems. So definitely check that out. So every Wednesday at 3 p.m., check us out. Questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe, hit that little bell notification. We are shooting for 2,000 subscribers. We are at almost 1,100 subscribers. So keep it coming, people. We thank you very, very much for all of that. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget, reboot early, reboot often. Don't cut your wires too short. Turn off CEC and call tech support. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Adam.